Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from Nashville, Tennessee. Today is Sunday, November 9th. I am your host, Josh Newberg. Another crazy weekend of college football is over. The dust is settling. No coaches fired yet. Could we see a coach fired? We haven't had one yet this weekend, but recruits are looking around. Rumors are swirling all across the country. We got a big show, lots to cover. I'm excited about what we got today. But before we get going, guys, do me a favor, hit subscribe to the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. Like I said, we got a lot to cover today because it was a busy weekend when it comes to recruiting. We're going to talk Alabama, Miami, Texas Tech, and Notre Dame. It's a big show. Let's get to it. Let's talk about Alabama. The Tide took care of business at home, 20-9 over SEC rival LSU. And I love what Alabama did this weekend with recruiting. They knew their rival LSU was limping into T-Town without their head coach. They're likely going to win. So what does Bama do? This is a Nick Saban-esque move. They bring in the top players from the state of Louisiana to sit on the sidelines and watch Bama beat down LSU. I love it. So we're going to break it down with national analyst Sam Spiegelman. But before we do that, Bama fans, do me a favor real quick. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. It's going to be a fun couple weeks as we run down to signing day. All right, let's bring in national analyst Sam Spiegelman. And the strategy, it's a great one. And who else would you want to bring in rather than number one quarterback, Elijah Haven? Not only is he from Louisiana, but he's from Baton Rouge. And Elijah Haven, Sam, it feels like he's trending heavily to the Tide even before this game.
Yeah, the Haven spent multiple days in Tuscaloosa last month, ending that visit with the Tennessee game, which, as you know, Josh, had a similar vibe to this, where Alabama put a statement out there. Ty Simpson played great, and Alabama rolled to victory. Alabama just did that again against LSU, which is a team that has been in consideration for the number one quarterback, Elijah Haven. Mm-hmm. Alabama takes care of business. Kalen DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, that staff have devoted a ton of energy into Elijah Haven, getting him back within a month of that last visit. I feel great about our prediction for the Tide to eventually land Elijah Haven. He's going to come off the board on the 1st of January in 2026. He's going to be in Georgia next weekend. He has family ties to the Georgia football program. But nonetheless, I like where the Crimson Tide are currently sitting. I don't know if there is a team that's capable of knocking them off before January 1st.
So at one point, it seemed like it was almost certain he was going to commit to the Florida Gators. I know Steve Woodfong had a prediction in. There was a lot of predictions, and then things fell apart there. So is there who would be at this point the biggest competition for Elijah Haven? I mean, he's from Baton Rouge. They don't have a coach. He was trending to UF. They don't have a coach. So is this like Alabama's to lose right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest enemy to Alabama is the unknown. Who are they going to hire in Gainesville? Who are they going to hire in Baton Rouge? And of course, he was also supposed to be at Auburn later this year. He was very high on Auburn and Hugh Freeze, and they will now have a new head coach in the Plains before too long. So right now, things are trending up for Alabama in a very, very big way. Of course, the biggest issue will be the unknowns. Who will they hire in Baton Rouge? Will that coach be determined to keep Elijah Haven in the state? Will that OC or quarterback coach feel, will they have a relationship with Elijah Haven? I'll tell you this from talking to Kwame Haven, Elijah's father, relationships loom incredibly large in this recruitment. Alabama didn't just circle to the top by accident because these other coaches were fired. They have been building this relationship. They've knocked it out of the park for now 2 visits in a row, and they continue to roll on the offensive side of the ball. This family is looking for stability, and they're looking for a place where their quarterback can get developed, with Kalen DeBoer has done with Ty Simpson exponentially this season.
Yeah, he's showing it. All right, well, recruiting, you tend to go for the jugular, and that's what Bama did with this LSU game, bringing in these top players. Ready? Number one offensive lineman in America, Albert Simeon. He's from Louisiana. Number one edge in America, Zyron Forstall. He goes to IMG, but he's from Louisiana. Number one tight end, Ahmad Hudson. He's from Louisiana. They had Trey Martin on campus. They brought in a bunch of top-end players from the state. Who do you think Alabama is sitting in great shape for right now?
Yeah, I'm keeping my eyes on Albert Simeon, like you said, the number one interior offensive lineman in the country. That's his
Mm-hmm.
third visit to Alabama this year. He's there in the spring. He worked out for this staff over the summer. Listen, LSU is one of his top teams. So is Texas A&M, where the RPM is certainly trending. So is Nebraska. But I think you can count Alabama in that lead group of schools moving forward after a terrific visit to campus. High remarks from him and his family about the time with the Tide, with the coaches, the development. A lot of kids were raving about former alum Tyler Booker being on campus for this game. Vibes were good. I'm keeping an eye on Alabama with Albert Simeon. And you mentioned Trey Martin, the newly offered running back from Franklin Parish. That offer did not go overlooked, and that environment certainly caught his attention.
All right, Texas is also a battleground state, and there's a pair of prospects I want to talk about: Ishmael Kamara and Mason Joshua. They're both from Texas, but this is kind of Bama LSU battleground state as well. So, what are you hearing on these two coming out of this Bama visit?
Yeah, let's start with Ismail Kamara. We talked about Albert Simeon, the number one interior offensive lineman. Kamara is number two. He's a French transplant, and he, from France, has known about the history of Alabama football. So, I can tell you that when he was there in the offseason, that visit blew him out of the water, and returning for this environment, which by all accounts was out of this world. Very few environments in college football, like LSU and Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Bryant Denny on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And Kamara and his camp continue to rave about the time that they had in Tuscaloosa. The staff has been in touch with him weekly since offering. They were around East Texas not too long ago. They also had five-star offensive tackle Kennedy Brown on campus. Visits have been few and far between for this elite offensive tackle from the Houston area. LSU, like you said, is a top team for Kennedy Brown, and Alabama, I think, stamped their ticket as a contender with Brown moving forward.
Man, what a weekend for Alabama. And that we just kind of hit the tip of the iceberg here. Guys, go to Bama Online. They covered the whole weekend inside and out. Tim Watts, Andrew Bone, and the guys do a great job there. But what do you think of this strategy by Bama to bring in some of the top players from Louisiana? Do you think it pays off? Which one of the guys that we named do you think will be an Alabama Crimson Tide when it's all said and done? Who's going to end up in Tuscaloosa? Talk to us, comment section below. Let's talk some Miami recruiting. The Canes, they won 38-10 over Syracuse on Saturday. Plenty of recruits enjoyed that experience, and there's even some flip targets now trending in Miami's direction, potentially two of them. We're going to break it all down in this video, but before we do that, Miami fans, this is the time of year where you're going to want to be subscribed to the Rivals Recruits channel. All right. Let's get on with it and bring in national analyst Marcus Benjamin. You were at the game yesterday, and we already have some new predictions rolling in. Steve Wiltfong put one in for Miami to flip Penn State defensive line commitment Isaac Chukwura. He's a 6'2", 255 D lineman from Delaware. How do you feel about that? Have you put in your prediction yet?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and join Steve on that prediction. I really feel confident with where Miami stands with the Penn State commit. He was at the game yesterday, seemed to definitely enjoy himself. And from what I hear from inside the program, Miami feels really, really confident about flipping him from Penn State to Miami. The prowess of the Miami defensive line coaches of Jason Taylor and Damian Lewis is something that Chikora definitely likes. I think it's all but kind of a matter of time until we see him decommit and then, flip, or it could maybe just all happen all at once. But I definitely like where the Hurricanes stand with the Nittany Lion commit.
All right, trending for one defensive lineman. He wasn't the only flip target on that defensive line on campus. Pitt defensive lineman Logan Nagel was also at the game. You had a chance to speak with him afterward. What was he saying about the Canes?
It was kind of along the same lines. He really likes the defensive line coaches of Jason Taylor and Damian Lewis. It seems like this is just a two-horse race right now with Pitt and Miami. Mm-hmm. He's still currently on a visit at the University of Miami, getting a tour of the campus, and I'm sure the Hurricanes are doing everything that they can to flip his commitment from Pitt to Miami. From what I understand, there were some other Big Ten teams involved in his recruitment, also trying to flip him. But Miami is definitely in a great position. He liked what he saw from the Hurricanes on Saturday night as far as the defensive line play. The defense overall got 7 sacks against Syracuse, so that's nice to see if you're a defensive line recruit. And I think Miami's in a really great position. They were targeting the defensive line position for a while for these last couple of months, and I think they are going to upgrade that position for the 2026 class by the end of the week, if not sooner.
Yeah, they got a couple irons on the fire. Some other flip targets not on campus this weekend, but guys that were on campus included number 1 running back in the 2027 class, Kamon Spell. He got to see a dominating performance by the Canes. It was his first visit ever to Miami. So you wrote a great article up on the front page of Rivals.com right now. You spoke to a lot of these recruits. What were they generally saying about the Canes' dominant performance on Saturday night at home?
Well, most of the recruits agreed that the Hurricanes started off slow. This is very similar to the game against Stanford. It was almost like kind of a mirror image of the two games. Miami didn't score until 2 minutes left in the first half. So that's something that most of the recruits did notice, but they did also notice that the Hurricanes kind of took over and imposed their will in the second half. A lot of these recruits still believe in the Miami Hurricanes, in the program, in what Mario Cristobal is building down here in South Florida. And they still feel like this is a program on the rise, and they feel like this program can still make the playoffs, still possibly make the ACC championship game. They liked what they saw from the coaches in action, and they liked the fact that they saw freshmen play. We all know about Malachi Tony, who is already one of the top players in college football, in my opinion. And they got to see Gerard Pringle, who led the team in rushing yards against Syracuse last night, also scored a touchdown. So these recruits like to see these freshmen already getting in action in their first year as college players. That's something any recruit would want to see. So that's something that they enjoyed watching at Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, they've done a great job with that. So let's wrap it up. Wide receiver Calvin Russell committed to Syracuse, was at this game. He showed up. Was he wearing Miami gear? Was he wearing Syracuse gear? What do you think he thought of watching the team he's committed to lose to the Canes like this?
So Calvin Russell, I think, is still pretty much kind of locked in with Syracuse. He just came from an official visit up there in upstate New York. I think more so he was there to, of course, watch Syracuse, his future team, in action. As far as what he was wearing, he was there in support of his friend, Malachi Tony. So it was kind of like one of those shirts where
he had the Tony shirt on again?
Yeah, had a Tony shirt on with a couple of his teammates had the same Tony shirt on. So he's there representing for his guy, Malachi Tony, and is just wishing him the most success. But from what I hear from inside the program over there at Syracuse, that he's fully locked in with the orange. And I actually had a chance to meet Fran Brown last night, and I get it. I kind of get why these kids are so kind of captivated by him. He really does have an infectious personality, and I could, if I had a son, then I would probably consider, sending him to Syracuse, because I feel like this guy is down to earth, and I feel like he would protect my son. So I don't know. It's just there's definitely something about Farron Brown's personality. They're not showing it on the field right now, but it's definitely something that is drawing these recruits in. And if it wasn't for Fran Brown and his personality and just the way that he connects with the kids, these kids, I don't think wouldn't be so locked into Syracuse, considering the season that they're having and that they're not going to make a bowl game this year. It's just the way that he connects with you as a person. I think that's what these kids definitely like, and that's why I feel Calvin Russell is probably going to stay with the Orange.
Wow. All right. Well, Miami not done yet. They're going to make a couple more additions to this 2026 class. We talked about 2 trending defensive linemen, but that's not it. You guys, talk to us in the comments section below. Who is your favorite flip target down the stretch for the Canes? They're going to flip some guys, so let us know who you think it's going to be. Comment section below. Let's talk Texas Tech recruiting. The Red Raiders dominated BYU in a top 10 showdown, setting the tone with top recruits on campus. We're going to go behind the scenes this big visit weekend in Lubbock with national analyst Sam Spiegelman. But before we do that, we love talking Texas Tech recruiting on this channel, so jump on board, Red Raider fans, and hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. The next 3 weeks, well, really beyond the next 3 weeks for Texas Tech, is going to be a fun ride, so you're going to want to be a part of it. Hit subscribe. All right. Let's bring in Sam Spiegelman. Some of the headliners on campus this weekend include Jerry Outhouse, Peyton Miller, Julian Caldwell. What's the buzz coming off a top 10 win at home?
The Red Raiders are rolling, Josh, and you mentioned 2 of the top players in the state of Texas for 2027, 3 if you count Julian Caldwell. I have predictions in for 2 of those players to land at Texas Tech after this weekend. Let's start with Jerry Outhouse, the number 7 cornerback in the Rivals 300. He called it his best visit yet to Lubbock. He has been to Arizona State, to TCU, to Oklahoma, to A&M, to Texas. No one is keeping pace with the Red Raiders in this race. My prediction is on the Red Raiders. He'll be at Georgia this upcoming weekend and has flirted with potentially expediting his timeline for a decision. If and when he does make that commitment, I like where Texas Tech stands. I also like where they're sitting with Peyton Miller, 4-star, top 10 interior offensive lineman from Anna, Texas, has been to Texas Tech a handful of times, not only this season, but in the past year. He's worked out for that staff. He's been back for games, including this one. I think Texas Tech is setting the pace in this recruitment, and I've logged a prediction to reflect as much. Arizona State, Texas, Arizona State, Clemson are all in the mix. I still like where the Red Raiders are trending with Peyton Miller after his terrific junior season.
All right. So it was an exciting time for sure on the field down there. Recruits had to be buzzing. LaDainian Guyton, 5-star edge, committed, solidly committed, but one thing is happening. Georgia's not going to go away. It was huge to see him back on campus again. What are you hearing on LaDainian Guyton coming out of this maybe final visit? We don't know if it's going to be the final visit to Lubbock before signing day, but it's only 3 weeks away.
Signing day is almost here. When he reclassified to the 2026 class, when he committed to Texas Tech over the summer, all of this was in his mind going in, that he was going to reclassify and enroll in Lubbock in January. That has always been the plan. And after this visit, there is even more confidence in West Texas that they are going to get the number 1 edge in the country out of South Georgia. He, of course, did not make it to Athens last month. South Carolina is the other team that continues to kick the tires on LaDainian Guyton. But all indications out of Lubbock is he is going to be a Red Raider. His teammate is the quarterback and face of this 2026 class. But Guyton, Felix Ojo, these are the players that Texas Tech fans need to be excited about in this 2026 group.
Yeah, a lot to be excited about. Now, one visitor that was supposed to be there, KJ4, Duncanville, Texas. We've been talking about him. He's committed to the Gators, and he was expected to be in for an official visit. That's where the team, they foot the bill. It's on their dime. It's a little bit more official. That's why it's called an official visit. He did not make it in. What does this mean for his recruitment, not just to Texas Tech, but just in general?
Yeah, he's talked about getting to Lubbock before signing day next month, but it's looking like a little bit of an uphill battle. He's going to be back in Aggie land for a 3rd time this season next weekend when Texas A&M hosts South Carolina. He is scheduled to return to USC for the first time since the spring at the end of the month when UCLA is in town. We're hearing that A&M continues to kick the tires on KJ Ford, one of the top in-state edge defenders on A&M's board. They've been in this race since he was a freshman, and they are again rearing their head as time winds down to the early signing window.
All right. Anybody else on campus over the weekend Texas Tech fans need to know about?
Yeah, you're going to have to be talking about London Smith. He's committed to the Big 12, to Baylor. He's from Waco, and he was back in Lubbock over the weekend. Again, this is someone who Texas Tech has been infatuated with since the start of this cycle back in January. He's been there in the spring. He's been there for an official visit in the summer. He was back this weekend for that colossal top 10 win over BYU. Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders are not going anywhere with this longtime Baylor commit. Just keep your eyes on Texas Tech as they try to bolster their 2026 class with a few more weeks to go until National Signing Day with London Smith.
All right, let's go Texas Tech fans in the comment section. How you feeling about the season? How you feeling about recruiting? How do you feel about Texas Tech landing a number 1 class in 2027? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's talk Notre Dame recruiting because the Irish increased its winning streak to 7 games on Saturday night, dropping Navy 49-10, improving that record to 7-2, and it was a big weekend for recruiting. We're going to break down all the action. We got Mike Singer of blueandgold.com. We're going to go behind the scenes of this big visit weekend, but before we do that, Notre Dame fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. We only got 3 weeks till signing day, and this is the place to be. All right, let's bring in Mike Singer and talk. Let's start with the flip target on campus, Matt Sigg, Penn State safety commitment. He got to see a good one. What are you hearing coming out of this visit?
Yeah, I think that my feelings on Matt Sigg are the same right now as they were going into the trip, that if Notre Dame really is like, all right, pedal to the metal, let's go flip this kid from the Nittany Lions, that I think they're going to land him. I think Notre Dame caught his eye when they offered him earlier this year, but he was fully locked in with the Nittany Lions. Of course, James Franklin gets fired, and that opens things up for him, taking official visits to Indiana and Pitt. And he's supposed to take an official visit to West Virginia at the end of the month. That's what our Ryan Snyder reported this week at Blue White Illustrated. So we'll see if that visit still takes place. If it does, I mean, that's a right before National Signing Day official visit. But right now, I think that Notre Dame will end up getting him. Again, if it really does make that big push for him, which I lean towards them, I think that's what they're going to be doing. He's having a great season. Look, Notre Dame's got 5 DBs committed. They took 6 last year. It's not like they need a 6 defensive back in this class. That's already one of the best defensive back, commit groups in the country. But I think that Sigg is just too good of an athlete. Look, Notre Dame's class is pretty full. That's why whenever I come on here, Josh, I'm not really talking about, these 2026 targets, because Notre Dame's full. But Matt Sigg, that opportunity opened up for Notre Dame. They've been exploring it for the past few weeks. And right now, my guess is that he'll end up in Notre Dame's class, but I can't say that too definitively at this point.
And it doesn't sound like you're expecting news this weekend just by hearing your answer on this. It sounds like he's going to probably make a decision closer to signing day, which is only 2 weeks away.
Yeah, still waiting to hear a little bit more intel on that. But if he holds the West Virginia visit, like if he does want to take that, then obviously we're going up to signing day. And then also, does he want to see what Penn State does? Does he want to see where James Franklin ends up? Because that school, you would assume, will become a contender for him. And then if he likes this Penn State hire, obviously, he's a Pennsylvania kid. So if he likes that hire, connects with those coaches, if that's to take place before signing day, could he push it back to February? There's a lot of ifs. For a kid in Max Sigg's shoes.
All right, I get it. He's got a lot to think about, but this was a great visit weekend for him and Notre Dame. Who else did the Irish make a big move for over the weekend?
Yeah, it wasn't like a ginormous recruiting weekend in terms of numbers, but some quality prospects on campus. And it doesn't get a whole lot bigger for Notre Dame than Xavier Hassan, the number 7 cornerback per the Rivals industry ranking. Again, in that 27 class, Notre Dame loves him. I've logged a prediction for him to land with the Fighting Irish. And one of the best in the industry, I know, has logged one as well. I'm sure you guys will be talking about that, Steve. Garyon Hobbs, a linebacker / safety prospect from Louisville, Kentucky. He's visited Notre Dame a few times now, including twice this fall. I think that Notre Dame's in really good shape with him. Leighton Von Brant's the number 6 offensive tackle in the 27 class, a former Penn State commit. Now, as we were recording this, he has not announced a Notre Dame offer. I'm actually pretty surprised. This is an elite prospect from Middletown, Delaware. I do think that Notre Dame will end up offering him and that the Irish will be in a good position with him. Caden Henderson from Tampa Jesuit, the number 2 linebacker in the 27 class. He got up to South Bend, expecting to hear good things from him when I talked to him. Tyler Fryman is a Louisville baseball commit. Notre Dame offered him over the summer after seeing him camp. And, had a few other offers like Cincinnati, I think like Toledo, nothing to really write home about. Rivals just recently ranked him as the number 119 overall player, number 20 wide receiver in the 27 class. Tyler Fryman from Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. I think that Notre Dame can flip him from Louisville if it really pushes. And then got to mention Ellis McGaskin, Notre Dame linebacker commit the 27 class, visited Mississippi State, visited LSU this fall. You already can see the message board posts of he gone. He's from Mobile, Alabama. He's visiting Mississippi State and LSU. He must be gone. Seems to be I mean, look, you got to follow the visits, but seems to be solid. Josh, you mind if I bring something up real quick?
Yeah.
Speaking of seems to be solid, over the summer we had a conversation. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember it vividly about Notre Dame's class, and maybe it was around the time Elijah Golden committed in early August. You're like, Mike, is there anyone who's on Flip Watch? Anyone you're monitoring? I was like, dude, I know that history says Notre Dame's probably going to have someone flip, but there is no buzz, and we're in November now. There is still no buzz about any Notre Dame commits in the 26th class. Visiting elsewhere, unless someone's taking some secret visits, nothing. It is silent.
You wonder, though, is this a sign of the times? Is this just what NIL does in modern recruiting? Or is this a sign of the times with Notre Dame consistently winning the way that they have? Maybe it's a mixture of both. Inside Scoop listeners, let's talk Game Time. Baseball season is done and the NFL is underway. And who doesn't love seeing their favorite NFL team live and in person, especially when you can go with a bunch of your buddies? The only thing is tickets are never easy to find, and getting deals on those last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want to do is be there for the moment your team runs out on the field. Well, thankfully, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing ticket experiences. It only takes a few simple clicks. The app's easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee, it means that you can trust that you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. You can even get into NFL games as low as $100. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's super simple, and it makes the experience of buying great seats a breeze. Also, one of the coolest features I've seen is the Game Time lowest price guarantee. It's where Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference to guarantee you're getting the lowest price if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere. All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. Download the Game Time app, create an account using promo code INSIDESCOOP. That's promo code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. It's Inside Scoop for $20 off Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
No, I think it's definitely a sign of the times for Notre Dame coming off of the season they did last year and now how they're playing now. But to answer the latter half, I would ask you that in your job. You have a better understanding of that. Like, are decommitments at a less rapid pace than prior to NIL?
I think so far. We're going to see the next 3 weeks. The interesting thing with this signing day, it's moved up to the earliest it's been ever, December 3rd. It doesn't give these guys much time after the season. It doesn't give them any time to take visits. It's 4 days after the final game of the season. It doesn't give them any time to take visits. Doesn't give them any time for in-home visits. So
there is no in-home visits, right?
There is no in-home visits. But you don't even have the cool down period after the season ends to get on the phone with these. I mean, of course you do, but you don't. You know what I mean? Like when we had signing day on December 15th or December 22nd, there was so much more time.
And those coaches are getting hired. Like I remember back to Marcus Freeman being hired. I want to say it was December 7th or 8th. I mean, that was before signing day. Now that would be after signing day. So can Penn State hire a head coach before signing day? I don't think so. What does signing day look like without a head coach?
Do teams even care? I mean, look, this is the first time that we're going to see it on December 3rd. We're gonna talk about it here, kind of the cause and effects of what happens with the early signing day. We can make some predictions, but the other thing is, how much do teams care? We're going to find out. Do teams care about the early signing day enough to rush a hire, or I don't think so these days. I don't think so.
Well, let me add this real quick. When Marcus Freeman was fired or hired, right? Brian Kelly goes, Marcus Freeman's hired. I really do think that if not for National Signing Day, and this would have been for the 2022 class, I think that Notre Dame's this is just kind of my reading between lines, their first choice was Luke Fickell, who is, of course, the head coach at Cincinnati, but Notre Dame couldn't hold out until after Cincinnati was in the playoff. So they go with Marcus Freeman. And maybe that was like a 1A, 1B kind of situation. But yeah, now do teams care? It's just like, all right, load up in the NIL or excuse me, load up in the portal. Yeah, just, sign 8 kids, maybe get some kids in the February signing period and just go heavy on the portal.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't really know. It's going to be interesting. And then like next year, we're going to learn all this information and data. And then who knows, next year they might move it again and it's not on as early as it is now. So from year to year, we're just kind of seeing. But what's cool about that is it gives teams an opportunity to kind of have different strategies. Not everybody has the same strategy. This is new. Nobody's ever been through it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I got one more question for you. Yep. Does the weather matter? Last night's game, it was a really nice wintry mix. If you're into those wintry mixes, where it's raining, kind of snowing, on and off, maybe alternating, doesn't matter when it comes to visits. Or is this like a way to weed guys out?
Maybe. Yeah, Marcus Freeman has said if you don't want to, like, if the cold bothers you, this isn't the place for you. Paraphrasing. Right. I mean, I interviewed Kamari Whitfield, a cornerback in the 27 class who's committed to Tennessee. He visited Notre Dame, and I talked to him on Sunday morning, and I asked him, hey, what was the highlights of your visit? The first thing he said was, I've never seen snow before, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. So, yeah, it can be a lot of fun, but if you don't like the snow, you don't like the snow. I talked to Teddy Gerard, Notre Dame's quarterback commit in the 27 class. He's from Georgia.
Right.
And I was like, hey, what'd you think about the weather? He was like, oh man, it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. And I'm like, I hope you don't mind playing in that, because you don't really have any other option. I mean, that's what playing in South Bend is like in November. So, especially if you get to host in December. So yeah, I think it makes for a fun environment for the snow. It's not fun sitting in the rain, but yeah, for the snow, the kids usually love it.
Yeah. It's funny, but it's true. That's one of the things that you got to deal with up there. And if you don't like it, then maybe this is a good time to find out that you don't like it. But it seemed like the guys had a great time. So Notre Dame fans, go check out blueandgold.com. Mike Singer and the boys over there do a phenomenal job of covering these big weekend visits like no other. So you guys get in the comment section, talk to Mike and I. How you feeling about the flip target Matt Sig of Penn State? Can you get it done? Talk to us, comment section below. Thank you for watching the Inside Scoop. You guys can find us right here at the Rivals Recruit channel on Sundays and Wednesdays. I am Josh Newberg, and we'll see you next time.